All right, and we are live.
Oh
Hey,
my
Brooke.
goodness, I'm so excited to be here with you.
I know. Thank you, and for listeners who were expecting me to do a live last week, which I promised I will. Before we even start, I was in Costa Rica. I thought I could work there, but I couldn't. I couldn't even log on to get on with the audience here. So my apologies. Next time when I do that, I won't make an optimistic call that I can actually work. But we're good now.
And that's, I think, leading us to an important point, right? Is you were playing, you were having fun, you were just enjoying Costa Rica. I've never been there. I've heard it's gorgeous. A lot of my friends and
Yeah.
connections have been. How does relaxation and play and having fun and spending that really quality, beautiful time with your family impact your work?
It's an interesting thing. One of my mentors used to tell me that the best thinking happens when you stare at a window. I'm like, what do you mean? Right? Kind of like I've always been fascinated with that concept, and it always stays with me. Like, just stare out of the window for 2 hours. I'm like, I can't do that. I need to work. Like, just do that. And there are moments in Costa Rica this time where that happened, where I'm just staring. I have no idea what I was thinking about. Nothing, probably. But I know my
You're
mind
in
was
your
working.
nothing box, you might say.
I was in my nothing box. Correct. That's a technical term. We're gonna use that. So I think it's more. It calms you down. It relaxes you when you're not forcing yourself to think. Because I'm a type A, like most of us, where I like to control every single second of my life, and it's fine. I'm not saying it's good or bad, but to be in that moment where I didn't necessarily have a whole lot to think actively. I had my family, which was fine. I had sun, I had beach, I had pool, I had drinks. I had just everything that was needed to be there, right? And I kept coming back to the decision I made on December 2nd, 2022, of quitting my job, right? Where I cannot, and I was a consultant before. And then just before quitting, I was with Airbnb, but I can't remember any single vacation where I did not work. I just can't. There was a vacation, Brooke. I don't know if you've talked about it or not. My family went to Disney World. We were gonna be in Orlando,
Everyone
and
thinks that's
my
going to be a relaxing vacation, but as
relaxing
somebody that
vacation.
really knows behind the scenes,
It's
what a
actually not
stressful
relaxing.
vacation. Very stressful.
My manager called me. He's like, "Can you go to Japan?" I'm like, I can't. There's like, we need you for one meeting for 20 minutes. I'm like, I don't think it's a good idea because I'm going to be with someone. He's like, I really need you there. Is there anything you can do? I'm like, sure. So we landed on Monday. I spent literally 4 hours getting my family checked in. I hopped on the plane, went to Japan, finished a 20-minute meeting, came back to Orlando. I was already Friday. I'm like, this is not vacation, right? This is definitely not vacation. What we did this time was definitely vacation. That we're just
Mhm.
hanging out, we're just kind of relaxing. And again, I asked my daughters the same question: "What did you like about this trip?" They're like, "You were mostly there, right? You were there. You were playing with us in the pool. You were just hanging out. We were doing activities. We did zip line, which was scared shit. I don't like heights at all. But I'm like, I can't tell my daughters to do something and pursue their dreams and fight their fears. But I'm gonna start crying just because I have to jump on a zip line. I did it. It was amazing. Stuff like that. I think is more. These moments are necessary for you to reflect. Why do we do so much activity in our life? What's the point
I
of
think
all of
it's so
that?
important to bring up too that most of us are doing this. In your case, you're doing this to leave a legacy for your family. And so many of the people that are listening want to do that too. But there's
Yeah.
this balance between, you know, leaving that legacy for your family. I was struggling to find the right word there. And honoring the time that you have with them in the here and the now. Because one thing I love
Yeah.
that you said is you were playing with your daughters. You weren't talking to them or, acknowledging their presence. You were literally playing. And
Yeah.
that play is going to bring out a whole different level of creativity, ingenuity, inspiration in you.
Definitely. And I think me and my daughter, my older one, had one of the biggest fight ever. Right. But a lot came out in that discussion. I had a lot more understanding of what I was doing and But we never had that space for 2 3 hours, have a conversation. My younger one was funny. She's like, "Okay, honey, you're all good. We're all good. You're all right. Everyone is right. Just get along." I'm like, "No. We gotta have this conversation
Right, because it's going to keep cropping up in different
because if
ways
you
if it's
don't,
not addressed.
correct." And she felt like she had my full attention because otherwise, I would say, "I have a meeting in 10 minutes. We can talk about it, and then I have to move on." Right? But this was, you just tell me exactly how you feel. I'll tell you how I feel. And then her mom got involved, my wife, and then my younger one got involved. It was actually a good bonding moment where you're like, we formed, we normed, and then everything just kind of relaxed from there. It was amazing.
Mm. And that, when you take that weight off, right, of, oh my goodness, I need to be tethered to my cell phone. I have to be tethered to this person's
Yeah.
expectation. I know in my case, I'm so playful and I have so
Right.
many ideas that I never would have had. Does that translate to your industry and your businesses and the way that you're trying to move and grow?
It does, right? Because I think we do capital raising and this education and all that good stuff that we've been doing on. It was a good time to really not have that pressure and rethink, why are we doing what we're doing for business? What was the reason why we started it? Because it's easy to start chasing deals, start getting start chasing the next high, right? And whatever high. For me, the high is always, how many lives have I impacted, right? Or how much capital have we raised? Because that translates into how many students have we been able to sponsor. It's really, there was nothing going on. There was no pressure. I didn't have a podcast to record. I'd cleared up my calendar for next 2 weeks, saying I know even when I come back, we're not going to be able to do podcasts because I want to maintain that mindset of less is more. But what does that mean? That does not mean you relax for 22 hours a day. That means that whatever you're saying yes to has to materially move the needle for whatever your motive was. It could be monetarily, it could be emotional, it could be an insecurity that you're trying to feed into, whatever it could be. I think everyone has a different reason, but it has to move the needle. If it's not moving the needle, either you need to recalibrate your goal, or you need to change what you're doing. I think this is what these mini vacations, I call them, because it's literally gone for a week. Mini vacations give you that time to reflect. I don't take them too often. I don't. I should, but I don't. That was the whole reason for me to quit my job. But I think I've gotten more busy in my business now than I was at my job. No surprise. So this trip was very, very, very. It was a recalibration trip for us, for as a family. Where do we want to live? What do we want to do next? What our goals are? What do we really, really, really want to do? My daughter has told me that she's going to help me make $35,000 in stock market this year. I don't do stocks at all. For those of you listening, you know me. I hate that. But since she's bringing it up, I'm like, you know what? This is a learning moment. We'll learn it together. I don't even know where $35,000 is coming from. No idea. I'm like, do you have a seed cap? Yeah, I have $109 in my pocket. I'm like, perfect. Let's do that. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
I love her ambition. One thing people don't know about you too is I love when you're walking through the process of saying yes and saying no. Is a lot of people aren't aware that you do business growth coaching.
Correct.
And when you're coaching somebody to grow that business, the yes and the no becomes even more important, even more crucial than we used to think it was. How
Yeah.
do you walk them through the process of saying yes and the process of saying no? And where did you learn it from?
I think it's really there's again I've been blessed, Brooke, with so many mentors in my life who have held my hand, kicked my butt, whatever means I needed at that time. They somehow knew what I needed. And one of the mentors always said, just because you can do everything does not mean you should do everything, right? And that comment has stayed with me forever. I think I heard it probably 20 years ago now. And it's hard to live by. It's very easy theoretically, very easy, because I mean, words are cheap, right? But when you start thinking about how to do that, when I talk to the business owners, one of the biggest thing is focus, including me, right? And I said that even though I coach other people, I need coaches, because you always need that third party perspective. Because I'm emotionally attached to whatever I do, otherwise I wouldn't have done it. and I get too deep into it, and my mind just expands. I'm like, I can do this, I can do this, I can. Oh, by the way, what about this? Oh, by the way, about this? So same pattern. I have the same pattern than anybody else, so I'm no special. But what you need to do at that point is take that time with somebody, and maybe it's a free time, maybe it's a time you go away, whatever works for you, and just ask that question: why did you choose to do whatever you are doing? Right? That why. Chances are it started as a financial journey that I want to make a lot of money. But as you went along, your clarity came in saying that, well, no matter how much money I make, it'll never be enough. And there was an emotional component, there was a passion component that came along with that. And you got to start thinking about, is this really making me do what I'm doing? Right? Because I remember one time I asked somebody, I'm like, hey, I want to be on TV. And it was probably some insecurity playing out. They're like, why? I'm like, because I'm going to attract the right audience. Like, why? I'm like, just get me on TV. They're like, we can get you on TV. That's easy. We can do paid advertising. We can just pay somebody to get you on TV. It's easy. That's not. But what are you going to do from it? What purpose is that going to serve? And I think that question, any decision you're trying to do, it doesn't mean it's right. Doesn't mean it's wrong. It's that, is it moving the needle? And you may or may not know if it's going to, and that's okay. You may say that I don't know. I'm going to test it out. But if you pick something else, what else is going to get off your plate? Just like buying clothes. Like at some point, you have to cleanse your closet. If you keep buying clothes, you won't have enough place to put your clothes.
You're going to become a hoarder, for lack
You
of a
become
better.
a hoarder. And I think
you might
most,
become a hoarder. Same thing with shoes, everyone.
and exactly. And I am a hoarder of shoes, unlike my
I am
wife.
also a hoarder of shoes.
Yeah, I'm like, I need another one. I need another one. But anyways, I think that's a question we're saying, is that most business owners are hoarders of commitments. Right? They like to say yes to new things. They like to say, because that's the only reason they are an entrepreneur, because they said yes to something that's nobody else said yes to, or most people won't say yes to. Entrepreneurship is not an easy journey, right? But the biggest roadblock to an entrepreneur's success is the entrepreneur itself, himself or herself. They are the biggest problem. It's not about the strategy. It's not about the operations. It's they are not focused, including me. Look, I'm putting myself out with everybody else. I'm no special.
Most entrepreneurs are the same at the heart, right? It's that focus is hard. Because when you
That's
say
true.
yes to entrepreneurship, you sign up to take the road less traveled. And that does come with
Yeah.
its own set of concerns and problems.
There's no script. There's no path. What worked for Brooke may not work for Saket. And work for Saket will definitely not work for Brooke. Right? Kind of like you have to charter your own path.
I call it the Wild West of entrepreneurship.
Yeah. No, it
That's where your
is.
guidance is important, right? Is because it's easy to feel like there's something wrong with you when a strategy you saw online doesn't work, or a
Correct.
social media post doesn't blow up in the same way that your friend or colleagues
Right.
blew up. And you really take it from the very root of, why did you say yes to entrepreneurship? Because for
Correct.
most people, they did not sign up for the Wild West of entrepreneurship without a really good why.
No, because everyone saw an overnight success, which took 15 years to build. But everyone saw a friend who is now a billionaire, and they want to be that. They're like, oh, it's come so easy for that person. It didn't come easy for that. No matter how easy the business was, it didn't come easy for anybody. It doesn't. Because it can't, right? Because if it came too easy, everyone's going to do it. It takes a lot. Now, what I do like about entrepreneurship is probably closest to, and we're going to draw a very, very broad parallel here, so stay with me, is closest to spirituality, right? Kind of like if you think about it, when you're on the spiritual journey, you have no milestones. You have no idea. You have no idea, and your path is going to be very different than my path. And when I say spirituality, is going to the inward journey. I'm not saying being religious. When you're trying to commune with yourself, forget about God, is that who are you? And that question has such a broad and deep meaning when you start deepening your practices. Because when we lived with the monks in India, that's exactly the question we asked ourselves daily: who are we, and why are we here? Right? I don't think we ever got the answer, but we got the protocol, because I don't think there is an answer to why are we here. It changes, right? You evolve,
But
universe.
you chipped away at it. What tools or strategies would you suggest to somebody that wants to ask that question? Who am I? and why am I here? What would you suggest they do? Some little actionable tips and strategies to get
I think
started.
it's carve out at least 30 minutes of your life
Okay.
where you're sitting down just with you and your thoughts. It's going to be scary. And I'll tell you why it's going to be scary. It's going to be scary because you'll think about all the things you could have done in that 30 minutes, all the things you could do in the 30 minutes, all the things that your wife said or your husband said to you. Everything's going to come. All the crap's going to get downloaded in the 30 minutes. That 30 minutes is going to feel like it's an eternity. But stay with it. Stay with it every day, day in and day out, because eventually the noise is going to silence itself. Because there's only so many times you're going to think I hate my coworker, or I need a Ferrari. Whatever those thoughts are, acknowledge them. They're not bad thoughts. They're your thoughts. How can they be bad? But they are thoughts, right? So don't push them away. Let them flow through you. And there will be a moment in time. For some it may happen in 1 hour. For some it may take 2 years. I don't know how much time is going to take you. So that is something is very, very up to you. And the more you make that into discipline, you'll start to see you're gazing out of the window for 3 hours. And that's where the aha moment happens. That's where the creativity happens. That's where your problems get solved. It's not about writing on pen and paper. Like, I have so many amazing ideas of how to transform my own business, my own life, just in those 7 days, right? Playing volleyball, I had an idea. My wife said something, I had to tell her, just stop, please stop, because don't say any other word. I'm going to forget what you just said. I'm going to write those 3 words you said because I can see that being transformed into something very valuable for what we do as a business, right? These insights won't happen if your mind is preoccupied with, oh, I have another phone call, oh, I have another meeting, oh, I have this, oh, I have that. So it's really the most actionable side is to not do any action at all. It's really to calm down, right? Bring your brain down, activity down, bring your physical activity down. I know it's a very spiritual answer, but that's the only answer. That's the only answer.
And that's important for any business owner to know too, is it's easy to feel like, oh my goodness, this 30 minutes is unproductive. It's the most
Yeah,
productive thing you can do if you want to grow beyond the normal, or if you want to
correct.
stretch yourself beyond what you've already experienced.
Yeah, I think what's that book? I can't remember the name, the author name. Miracle Morning. It's a very thin book. If you look at it, I think you can finish it in 30 minutes. That's the whole concept, right? That in the morning is your morning. Whatever you do with it, it's yours. Don't be selfish with. Don't be selfish with that. Do not let it become somebody else's morning. And that time is very important. Like I was telling somebody, my wife, for those of you who don't know, my wife's doing an Indian medicine program right now. She's a full-time student. So I jokingly say I'm married but single dad. Because I don't have the perks of being a single dad, but I have the responsibility of that. But it's when I get up at 4 in the morning to make breakfast and lunch for my girls, and I'm not a morning person, that 4 to 6:30 is quiet in the house. It's really quiet. I can do whatever I want. I can play music. I cannot play anything. Nobody is questioning why is Saket doing what is doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that time, now I've gotten to love with that time. I look forward to it, that I need that time because that's my time, right? So find whatever works for you. I'm sure you have an activity. It doesn't have to be early morning. It could be any time during the day. But carve out that 30, 40, 60-minute time where you're actively not engaged in anything.
Mm-hmm. And mute that cell phone, everyone. I know I do it.
Mute that cell phone.
That's
You
a
don't need the
huge, we're going
alarm.
to have to do a whole conversation on the importance of muting your cell phone. Okay, today took a very different direction than I thought. Or was
Yeah.
it what you were expecting or slightly different?
I never know what to expect with you. So I think you carry the conversation wherever it needs to be. So I have no idea. I don't
We
walk
got
into
to
these
keep them guessing.
conversations.
Well, I believe that there's someone that needed to hear this today.
Yeah. No,
That's
they do.
been
They do.
nervous or scared to take that time and say, you know, I'm going to take a weekend unplugged. And that's what you speak to so well. If you were going to leave people with one little nugget of advice that they can implement going forward this week, it's a Monday. We're trying
Yeah.
to refresh and renew. what's that little piece of advice beyond the 30 or 60 minutes time? What's something they can start with today?
I think it's a decision making framework. I would say that. So when you are, each of us will come to a point where we don't know what to do next, right? And I think getting clarity on why you're doing what you're doing is going to be the only compass you have for your decision making. So, for example, when Brooke and I were talking about this sit down with Saket, it was a very impromptu conversation. There was no real thought behind it. We were like, let's just do it because we love to talk anyways. Both of us love to talk. So let's just
We
have a
both want to
conversation
talk and
live.
we want to be of service to the world. We'll find something to teach you.
We'll send something to share. So hopefully valuable. So I think it's going to be more around, but we did that because that's really what both of us are very passionate about, right?
Right.
Like, are we the masters of our domain? Have we perfected life? I don't think so, right? At least I can speak for me. I have not.
Yeah, me either.
But do we have thoughts to share that can inspire one person to look at life differently? Doesn't mean they're going to look at life the way Brooke and Saket look at it, but they can look life differently. Do we have enough crap in our life that we have, or struggles in our life, or successes in our life that we can add value to somebody? I think that's really was the goal. Why are we doing it? That's why we're doing it, right? It's not to raise capital. It's not to sell anyone anything, right? That's not the goal. The goal is to inspire. Now, if that turns into somebody being if I could be of service to somebody beyond that, great. We have other platforms, we have other offerings, people can plug in. But this is really for folks to see from our lives, who can we make a difference in? How can we make a difference in somebody else's life? That's the whole goal. When that North Star was true for us, this became activated, right? For you, it's the same thing where, as a listener, well, I don't know what to do with my life. The question is, what do you want the life to do? What do you want to contribute towards? Ask those kind of questions, right? So question is that a question that I want to leave everyone at before, and we can, I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. All right. Just let me know what you're thinking. Let me know. You have my LinkedIn. You can DM me. You can do whatever you want. You know how to get in touch with me if you really wanted to. I'm not that hard to find.
He's very friendly. I'll advocate for it.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't bite yet. So let me know what you're thinking. Let me know what your thoughts are. Let me also know how these conversations are for you guys. I love them, and I'll continue doing them even if nobody shows up. I'm perfectly fine with that. As long as Brooke's with me. I cannot talk to the wall. I can easily talk to having somebody ask me questions. That's easy. So let me know, give me your thoughts. But the questions, two questions to be, one question and one practice. One question is, ask your why. Why are you doing it? Same thing. If you're getting married to somebody, why are you marrying somebody? Why do you need to be married? You have kids. Why? The question why is going to transform your life. It's a very hard question, but it's going to transform your life. Guaranteed. Because why is very powerful, because it forces you to think. That's it. That's the only reason. I'm not saying because there's going to be music in the background and you're going to get a major download. It's nothing of that sort, I'm promising. But it's going to give you clarity in your life. It's going to give you a space to think. It's going to force you to have an answer to these questions.
I love that. You make me want to go ask why the rest of this afternoon. And
There you go.
another thing I'll say too as we sign off, if there's something you want to hear about, if there's something that's on your mind, if there's something that you're struggling with, drop him a DM, drop him a note so that we can address it from his perspective, because we want to help you, tackle the things that you are looking to tackle as well. So as I said, he's very friendly. I promise he doesn't bite. Don't be afraid to drop him a note and say, hey, I really want to see you guys tackle this, that, or the other.
Perfect. Thank you, Brooke, again. And I do want to remind folks, we haven't forgotten about it. We have a goals workshop with me, and we're going to be tying all these concepts in there. I still don't know how, but it'll evolve. I still have time. I haven't developed this 1 hour conversation yet, but there's enough conversations, enough formats, and enough frameworks that we have that we believe that you're going to be benefited from. So if what you're telling you is intriguing you, feel free to sign up. There's no cost to it. As always, this what we're doing is to trying to be a service to folks who can benefit from it. There's nothing in it for us.
Oh my goodness. Well, I've had a wonderful time with you. I missed you last week though. You're on vacation, but I'm
I
glad you're
know.
in restoration and play. And I'm excited to see what people take from this conversation. And hopefully you get some DMs.
Great. Thank you again, Brooke. And thank you again for tuning in again. If you're listening in online or offline, we really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank